Morning. So, I have an interesting topic to discuss today. Basically, I'm looking to do a massive combat overhaul. So, that will include everything from animations, character models, skill FX like particles, um, boring skills are going, passive skills are going, just a complete rework on combat basically. Um, the reason I'm doing that is because it was always planned. The content that you have now is mostly placeholder content. In terms of the animations, character models, they're free to use. It's just for prototyping. And a lot of the skills were made when I didn't have much experience. I'd only been coding for like a year when I made quite a lot of the starting skills at least. So they're shit basically. They're boring. They don't feel impactful. They get the job done numbers wise, like you can play through the game, but they could be a lot better. So yeah, that's going to be the major focus of an upcoming patch. It's an expensive patch, obviously because I have to buy all my art assets. Um, so I am doing crowdfunding for that at the moment. If anyone's interested in getting behind that, it's going really well so far. We're on day 2, nearly at 50% already. So yeah, just thank you to everyone that's already helped with that. It really means a lot. I didn't think people would be so supportive of it. Obviously, as a player myself, I've done plenty of crowdfunding, plenty of alphas and stuff, but it's just weird being on the other side of it. Right, so moving on to what I want to talk about. I'll quickly run through the code aspects of skills for those that aren't familiar with game development, just so you can get a bit more of an understanding of what makes it tick behind the scenes. So this is a skill, chaotic swipe on the hex lord. It's messy. It could be a lot cleaner. You can comment things, caption it, put it in little boxes to make it nice and tidy. But one of the benefits of being a solo developer, as long as I know what's going on, it doesn't really matter, and all that kind of stuff does take time. So yeah, the thing that we'll look at first is the animation. So here you select what the character is going to be doing visually. So this is the animation, chaotic swipe. I've got it up here. So very basic, very boring, not a lot going on there whatsoever. You got a weapon in your hand, you swing it, and then I make things happen. Yeah, like a big thing that I'm going to be changing, and you can see on the crowdfunding website, which I'll link below. The animations are a lot more graphically pleasing. They're a lot more interesting. There's movement involved. There's more wind up and wind down, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, overall they're a lot cleaner. They're a lot more professional. So it will help skills feel a lot better as well, just straight off the bat, even before I do anything code-wise. So moving down, you can see I have these 3 notifiers here, and this is what tells the skill what to do basically. So we've got start, first effect, and end. See here in the event type. So go down here, and you see it corresponds here. So for the start, we just rotate to the target, and then you don't need to worry about this. And then first effect. So this is generally when things start to happen. So if we look here, it lines up with when the weapon swing sort of finishes. That could be a bit cleaner, to be honest, and that's another thing that I'm going to be talking about and that I want to improve. So really we'd want it to happen around here, so we just drag it forwards, because you've got the wind up, right? So you've got the bit when nothing's happened, but it's about to happen, and then it happens. So that period here, from here to here, nothing happens in terms of damage, visuals or anything. It's all just animation, and you're winded up, and then you swing your weapon. So here is the first time that something actually happens. And then obviously you've got this cooldown period, the wind down, and then the skill ends, and you're able to either cast again or move or whatever you want to do. So that is what people sometimes refer to as animation lock-in, and it can feel bad, but obviously it's an important thing to have. because otherwise you can just spam constantly and it doesn't make much sense. The idea is to make this period here, the wind down, as short as possible, but also keep it realistic. So yeah, anyway, I digress. So first effect, we'll spawn the particle effect, which for this particular skill looks like, wait for it to load, looks like that. Very simple. And that's another thing that's going to be replaced, obviously, just making things look more visually pleasing. So yeah, you spawn the particle effect, find any targets, hit the targets, basically deal damage, and the rest of this is just different nodes that you can take on the skill tree. So this is Hex Lords, people wouldn't have seen this yet, but the first choice is to curse enemies. Second choice is to give yourself a chaos damage buff. Third choice is to plant a seed that either explodes instantly if you're taking the other major node, or with a 3-second delay, and then deals chaos damage in an area. And then this is just restoring Iron Skin and mana on hit, so fairly standard stuff. Yeah, so overall the idea of the combat patch is to replace these models with much better models, have much more interesting animations and particle effects, and then from the coding aspect I just need to make skills better, basically design them better, make them feel more weighted and interesting to use, and then tightening up these notifications, making sure they line up properly with what you're seeing visually. So when you reach like full weapon swing, that's when your particle spawns, that's when you deal damage, just things like that, trying to line up those visual notifications with what actually goes on. So that, I purposely chose a boring skill just to show that, but then we have a skill like Tunnel in Death, which is a lot more interesting. I'll just load up into game and show you. It'll take a little while because I'm in editor. Just get some health back so I can get out of here. Where are we? Tunnel in Death.
The world map can be used to fast travel to places you have already discovered.
Try and find Sunken Temple. There we go. Just wait for it to load. Be a bit laggy for a second, just while it loads things. Yeah, I don't know if you could see there, because don't worry about that. It was a bit lagging. I didn't think it would be so bad. But yeah, for those, well, I assume people have played this class before because it's a favourite of most people, but Tunnel in Death is a lot more interesting, visually and mechanically. It explodes, well, you send out a projectile and then if it collides with someone it explodes, but there's a lot more going on to it than that, especially now with the skill tree upgrade. Just let me pull it up here, I can read it out. So you have, becomes an aura that fires one projectile every 3 seconds, drains 10 mana and then drains less mana. Spawns 3 projectiles instead of 1 but reduces damage, and then better damage reduction. You got a standard mana leech because it becomes a very mana intensive skill, and then projectiles return after exploding following enemy trajectory, and they're just better cooldown. So this skill has a lot more going on in terms of the different playstyles you can have with it, the different mechanics involved. So there wouldn't be so much to do for a skill like this to make it better. It's mostly in the visuals, so very boring animation for this one. I can improve that a lot. and then yeah, just making sure. See, that one's timed out quite nicely. As soon as he opens his hand, it fires the projectile. So I don't really have too much to do in terms of that skill, but just having a different character model and a more interesting animation will help complete that skill, really, because mechanically it's there, but visually it's just not. Whereas a skill like Chaotic Swipe is lacking across the board: mechanics, visuals, you name it, it needs it. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to show in terms of what I would be doing to make the game better, and what I'd be replacing. There was another thing that I was going to talk about, which was universal skills. So you'll notice on the Hexlord tree when it loads, sorry about the loading, I didn't really pre-plan this video or anything, I just kind of do them when the mood strikes. So yeah, this on the Hexlord skill tree, you'll notice that a lot of the skills are missing if we compare it to, say, Spellblade. If I can type this morning. Yeah, so you can see it's a bit barer. Yeah, there's 10, 13 skills there and 8 skills here. The reason is that in the combat patch I'll be removing these skills that have the green names. They're sort of like passive skills, but they're not really used. They're quite underwhelming, they're boring, they don't really have a purpose. So I'm going to be replacing it with a universal skill system, which will be implemented across the board to all characters, and they share the same skills, but these skills won't be class specific in terms of what they do. So they fall into 3 categories. You can have like an oh shit category, so you're in trouble, you need help. Have a movement category and a kill spree category. So the idea is to try to keep them as applicable to all characters as possible, just to increase the choice. They're all going to be instant cast, or near enough, probably like 0.2 seconds, something like that, just so there is an animation there and you do have a visual cue that you've done something. Obviously there'd be particles as well, but it's always nice to have a small animation, as long as it doesn't impede gameplay. Obviously, like having an animation on a potion, it's just mental, but yeah. So the movement skills, because obviously a lot of people love movement skills in their RPGs. I do too, but I don't want it to get to like Path of Exile levels of speed, where you're just using a movement skill to go everywhere, like lightning fast, one button, wipe out the whole screen, then bam, you're on to the next one. I think it's good to have like movement and like slower sections of gameplay, so it's just not like constant speed running. So the movement skills be balanced around having a high mana cost, a high cooldown. Well, not necessarily too high, because I want them to be evade. The point is that I want it to interlock with gameplay, make gameplay smooth and give yourself options. So let's say you don't run out of the Dragonfire Breath in time, then you've got a movement skill to teleport you out, to dash out, to leap out, whatever it is. So it's more of an engage and a disengage, as opposed to I'm going to zoom around the map. Same with the all shit buttons. They're going to need big cooldowns, big mana costs. It's just something to balance them. So with the way that I have skill set up, most people are probably aware you can have multiple skills on the bar at once, multiple iterations of the same skill, I should say. So you can have 3 meteors, 3 chaos storms, whatever it is. You can have up to 5 really, if you wanted. So obviously this adds another layer to balancing, because you could theoretically have multiple copies of these skills. So like a 10-second cooldown isn't really going to cut it. But I want to make sure that they're a lot more usable and viable than they were in their current state. So they may be a little bit unbalanced to begin with in terms of probably too strong, but together we can tweak that and get them right. So yeah, the all ship buttons self-explanatory, like a massive heal, an AoE damage to wipe out enemies around you so you can live, just things like that in general. And then kill sprees, these are something that I think will add a lot to the game in terms of just fun, basically, because it's fun to keep streaks going. So it'd be like increased attack speed for every enemy you've killed, and then like killing refreshes it or something like that. You know, like there's variations. You could have like more kills, more effects, or kills refresh. Yeah, stuff like that. Different stats involved. So yeah, I'm thinking there'd probably be about, I don't know, 8 of these skills, 10 to begin with. I'd rather, and this goes for active skills as well, the gold ones, I'd rather have fewer skills that are fun to play, viable, and you know, you can pick any of them and you can complete the game, you can have fun doing so, as opposed to having hundreds of skills where only a few of them are actually good and are actually fun to play, or going the other side of it and having it so that you've got 10 skills but they all pretty much play the same. I think skills should have identity, and if they don't, what's the point really? So yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything that I want to talk about. Yeah, the replacing of the character models, replacing the animations, particle effects, etc., making skills more interesting, and the universal skill system as well. Yeah, I'll wrap it up there. If anyone has any additional comments or feel like I missed something, just, you know, let me know either on Discord or YouTube comments, and I'll get back to you pretty much straight away, because I'll be working all day, every day for the next few days to get the patch ready. So, alright, bye.